What is up, guys? Circon is here, bringing you guys another video. Today we're going to take a look at the new tech tree that is incoming, the Polish tech tree that is coming in the next patch, with is 1.0.3, and it's currently on the test server that started, I think yesterday on Friday. And on this video, there's a bunch of changes. There's map changes, there's new tanks, there's unfortunately no balance changes, and there is new personal campaign coming in as well. But this video, I'm only going to talk about the Polish vehicles, and I'm going to focus on tier 5 to tier 10, because tier 1 to tier 4 honestly doesn't really matter, right? It takes you a very short time for anyone to get to tier 5, right? The tier 4 to tier 5 might take like a little bit longer, but tier 1 to 3 is really easy. And then, you know, tier 5 and up is what we're going to talk about. That's where the gun marks are. That's where most of the grinding is. So yeah, let's get right into it, shall we? I'm also, as you can see, on the on the test server right now, so we can see how they look in game. But thank the Lord, tanks.gg already uploaded onto the website all of the tanks. So I also, a neat little thing here is that you can see how much XP you need to get to the tier 5. So if you want a free XP to the tier 5, which a lot of people do, because as you can see, it's pretty cheap. 21k free XP. It's all you need to get started at tier 5 right away. So the tier 5 is the T25 TP Q2 25 TP is probably how we're going to call it. I'm probably going to butcher a lot of names here, okay? This is the top configuration. And one thing I will say, what I've noticed throughout the tech tree, is that you almost always need to get the tracks first, because otherwise the turret or the engine just doesn't fit right away, like the new turret. So yeah, what do we got here? 56 top speed, power to weight of almost 19, which is decent. And this is always a bit hard to test, like the, you know, how fast does it actually go with the range resistance and stuff. But that is decent. It also has 10 degrees of gun depression, which is really nice. And as you can see, it is a very high mounted turret. So if you take a look at the tank itself, you can see there's a lot of room there. So yeah, it has 1700 DPM, which seems pretty nice. It has really high pen, 135 base, 175 on the premium pen. 5-second reload, so DPM of 1700. Oh, sorry about that. 2.4 aiming time is like, okay. You want on medium tanks, you always want to see 2.3 or lower. But that's also with third snaps, and this thing does not get that. So, yeah. Then what else are we looking at? So it's fairly high alpha for the tier, of course. 135 is really, really nice. A 38 dispersion is a bit eh. And 350 free range is pretty standard for tier 5, honestly. So you're always going to get a gun rammer. You're always going to get optics in this thing. And you're probably just going to get ventilation, right? That's pretty much it. And then you're at 390. And then you can add your base skills of recon. And then situational awareness, and maybe even brothers in arms. You're really lucky, and then you're still not at full view range, because that's the problem with this kind of view range. So you could also go, instead of vents probably, because you want to have on the move view range as well, you might want to go with the binos, right? With binos, it gets 469 with a really good crew. But most people won't have this, of course, right? Unless you're like me, and you played the Poodle to a third mark, and you have a really good crew for the Polish already. I free marked it like months ago, so I got like a 4 crew skill crew in it or something like that. So this is like optimal, right? Not a lot of people are gonna have this, but yeah. So 350 free range is a bit meh, so probably a lot of people are gonna maybe run binos on it. So how are we doing with the armor? And that's I was kind of hoping it had some kind of armor, and if you look at here, it's like about 100, and even at extreme angles, or like using the full gun depression. Like 100 or so. So and this side is more armored than this side, so keep that in mind when you're shooting at it. And I'm not sure how well this gun mantlet is gonna work, because if you're just looking at the rough numbers, it's only 60. So yeah, not great. And then the rest of the armor is also just pretty paper. Not like that you can HE paper. Well, maybe some higher tiers can, of course, but yeah. Not really well armored, but it's pretty fast, 10 degrees of gun depression. I think most people will kind of like this tank if it doesn't get trolled too much for 38 dispersion. 450 alpha is super standard. And yeah, that's about it. So 10 degrees gun depression, high alpha, high pen, pretty high dispersion, unfortunately. Yeah, it looks like a pretty solid tier 5. You just have to be careful because you're kind of made out of paper. That's about it. So, on to the tier 6, which is a 40 TP Haibisha. Again, sorry if I'm butchering the name. We're still gonna go 50. We have a power weight of only 11, which is pretty damn low for a medium. So this is the slow medium. But what do we get in return is 90 hull armor and 130 turret armor. So let's just take a look at the armor real quick on this. Well, it has not loaded in properly, I guess. That's still missing, but we can at least take a look at the turret. It's about 130. That's actually really good. And then the size of the turret, our troll, is all hell for a tier 6. And then you have the really obvious weak spot on top here. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I wonder how good this 90 mil front is going to be, because as you can see, the slope is actually really nice for tier 6, because it's from there to there. You can kind of see the angles here. So this, you know, it's a pretty well armored tier 6 medium, kind of reminiscent of like a VKP, with the same kind of weak spot as well, with a little cupola up top. And then we have a 240 alpha gun with 156 base pen and 198 APCR pen, which is also nice that this is not heat. So this is kind of like the Italian tank, right? And you get 0.4 dispersion. Yikes. That is going to be really annoying. I can already tell you. With 2.7 aiming time and 40 dispersion. Oh my god. You better hope that the frontal armor is going to be holding up decently well. Of course, if you're fighting tier 5s, I think your armor is going to be pretty damn good. And we can still peak ridge lines because we have 8 degrees of gun depression, which is really nice. 750 health is, you know, average. We go up 10 meters in free range, which is not brilliant. You know, if this was like 370, 380, would have been sick. But yeah, that's a bit of a disappointment. 74 ammo. I also realized that's a lot of ammo for 240 alpha tier 6. Not that it really matters, but hey. So yeah, aim time goes to 260. Let's see how good we can make this if we put all the crew skill on it, you know. Snapshot, there we go. So what are you looking at then? The dispersion is still the same, but the aiming time goes to 2.53. 1800 DPM is also like whatever, but you are hitting people in the face with 240 alpha. And as I 3-marked the tier 6 medium, the 240 alpha literally, like, it will troll you really hard with 0.4 dispersion, I'm not gonna lie. Or 38 when you have like a good crew. Like, we can still add like food to this as well. But or maybe not. Maybe that's not a thing yet. This is everything but food. I guess maybe food is not in yet or something like that. Let's see, does it have first stabs? Because that'd be really interesting. A tier 6 medium with first stabs here. No, it doesn't either. Maybe the tier 7 does. I hope so. But yeah, medium gun rammer, you're gonna run optics probably. Like, the thing is, even if you have low view range, you're gonna be on the front lines a lot with this turret armor. Like 130 at tier 6 is really nice. It's basically a heavium, right? That's what you're looking at. And you can reach 50 top speed, but like, you're not gonna get up to 50 really quickly. But this looks like a decent tier 6. I think the gun is gonna be literally hit or miss. Like, it's just gonna be either it treats you really well and you put down a lot of fire down range that actually accurately hits, and you're gonna have games where you're gonna be missing the easiest shots of your life and you're gonna smash your keyboard kind of gun. And that's kind of the recurring theme, right? The tier 5 was the same. So yeah, but overall, it looks like a decent to pretty good tier 6. Really reminiscent of the Italian tank, to be honest, which has the same kind of combo. But unlike the Italian, probably the Italian's a bit faster, but doesn't have the turret armor. This thing gets the turret armor as well, but it's obviously slower. So tier 7, which is a really fun tier for the most part. If you're lucky with tier 7 matchmaking, you usually have better matchmaking than tier 6 in my experience, and you definitely have better matchmaking than tier 8. So tier 7 is always a pretty cool tier for me to look at, because, well, I like the matchmaking for the most part, right? And it's the 45 TP, which is basically the bigger brother of the tier 6, even in how it looks and everything. It goes 35 top speed now, but the power to weight is a lot better. So it's 17 power to weight. But only 35 is, I wish that was 40 or something. 8 degrees of gun depression, just like the tier 6. 38 dispersion still. What kind of gun do we have? 320 alpha. 192 base pen. 225 is that APCR. It has to be. Yep. 10 That is pretty gnarly. 320 alpha with a reload of almost 11 seconds unbuffed. And then we have 100 hull armor and 170 turret armor. So on this turret, it actually looks really cool. The stock turret is it's just basically a block. But the top turret is very well rounded, which is very nice. And then we take a look at the armor. Damn, 184, 200, 230. Like, this is looking really good. And if we use the gun depression all the way, the 8 degrees, I'm going to be peaking ridges like this. It's 200, 230, 250. This is going to be really good. Like, obviously, it has somewhat of a weak spot. But even the weak spot, if you're using your whole, all of your gun depression, this is still pretty gnarly, right? You're going to be fighting tier 5s and 6s with this as well. You have to remember. And an upper plate is this as well. What is nice about this armor is that 175 does not go through it, which is a base pen of the ISs that you're going to be meeting a lot at tier 7, right? So a Tiger 1 will still shoot through your turret, well, let's say half of the time or so. Maybe a little bit more, maybe like 75% of the time. But you still have to be pretty lucky. Like, if you hit the ends of the turret, this is actually a really good model of the turret. Yeah, that's really nice for peaking the ridges again. So that's looking really good. And here we can also see the upper plate, you know, really well angled, as you can see. And if you're just meeting it head on, it's still 150. If you start angling slightly, 170, you know. This is pretty troll, right? If you're going to be peaking corners kind of like this. And you have your armor layout, your height. Like, you have to imagine there's like a wall here or something. That's pretty decent, especially like tier 5s. This is going to be a nightmare for tier 5, actually. Like, lower plate or die trying. And the cupola. But even the cupola is kind of troll for tier 5s. Tier 6s will have a little bit of an easier time. But this looks like a solid tank. And this is the heavy, the Polish heavy tank. I thought actually the tier 7 was still called a medium, but maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, 1820 DPM is like workable, I guess. We can probably see with bows and arms how far up we can get. Also, let's buff the crew in the recon and everything. So 350 base view range is awful for tier 7. That's blind as a bat. That's like Russian levels of blindness. But then again, you have the armor to be on the front lines when you need a little, well, you know, any view range you can get is nice, but yeah. And I don't think there is third steps. There's no third steps allowed. So you're gonna be optics, large gun rammer, because we're now a heavy tank. And ventilation, you're gonna go up to 421 with a really good crew. But on this tank, it's definitely not worth running binos, right? You're not gonna be sniping with this kind of gun. 0.4 dispersion, please. Good aiming time though, which brings down to 211 with a good crew with bros and arms. And still, we're not running food, so if you're running food, you might be actually getting close to 445 view range, which is what you want to get. But overall, the only thing that is a bit lackluster is top speed and the dispersion. But other than that, this looks like a really solid tier 7. Like, extremely solid. I'm looking forward to this one. Like, the gun is going to be trolling me. I already know what time it is. But yeah, this looks like a really solid tank. I like the look of this. So far, I think the Techtree is in a decent spot, right? You're going to get trolled by the guns, but other than that, it should be good. So the tier 5, as you can see, it looks really blocky stock, but it actually looks pretty cool once it's fully built. Oh, this is pretty bugged. I can show you guys in the garage. Make it easier. Oh no, there you go. So basically, it kind of looks like a IS-3, IS-2 without a pike nose. So yeah, have the weak spot on top. And this is all bugged. Effective armor 0. Nice. But yeah, this has to be a weak spot just like the other tank. But like, if you look at the hull armor, that is pretty solid, right? I can't check the turret, unfortunately. Maybe on the live collision. No, this is still bugged. But I have to imagine this is the same story as the tier 7, where the turret is just going to be really nice. And this is the nice part, guys. It is like an IS-3 kind of thing, but no pike nose, which I kind of like. I'm not a big fan of the pike nose design. And 8 degrees of gun depression. That's still really nice. 40 top speed. That's what I like in heavies, like 40. If you could reach 40, that'd be good. Anything less than that, it really grinds my gears. So yeah. It has a tier 9 gun, which is a tier 9 122 mil with 420 damage, not 390. That's something to keep account when you're fighting these or when you're playing these. And this basically is kind of the same gun as the tier 8 premium in terms of pen, a 218, 245, which is a bit meh, but workable. The problem, again, of course, it's a tier 8. Tier 8 matchmaking is just incredibly screwed right now. But if we just look past the bad matchmaking and look into, if it had good matchmaking, if you're fighting some tier 9s, some tier 7s, maybe even a tier 6. Like, in that world, I think this is a pretty good tier 8 heavy, right? And it goes up to 370 free range. And it looks pretty decent. Again, it's a running joke across this entire line is just the dispersion values. But 38 for 420 is actually not too bad, right? We've had 0.4 on like 240, which is even more annoying. 2.7 aim time is also, workable in a heavy, because now we should get first steps. We should get first steps. Yeah, there they are. So that is going to help a great deal, of course. So it looks like a really decent to really good tier 8 heavy tank, in my opinion. Even for someone that doesn't really like heavy tanks all too much with like long reloads and stuff. I'm more of a medium light tank kind of guy. But yeah, this looks solid, man. This looks like a more enjoyable IS3 to me, personally. If you take a look in game, let's take a look at the tier 8. As you can see, it looks really good. And then, like I said, I like that it is not pike nose. I have a better time playing these than I do with the other ones. So yeah, there you go. Alright, so let's take a look. Tier 9, the most fun tier in the entire game. What do we have in store? We have the 50 TP, which model-wise looks extremely similar to the tier 8 premium. It has the same kind of design where it has like the frontal wheels here being way in front of the hull, so you can only track them and not do damage there. And then it has the lower plate, still weak, 200 at a tier 9, that's really weak. And then this is slightly better, but still pretty weak, and then the rest is really well armored. And then we have the cupolas, which are weak as well, and the rest of the armor is really solid. And unlike the IS3s, I think this is, well, you can maybe overmatch it still like an IS3, same kind of plate like an IS3. And it's a, pretty large turret as well. The sides of the turrets. In the back, it's really bad armoring, actually, frontally. Kind of troll, but in the back, in the sides, it's going to be an easy pen on, like, let's say, like an i7 turret or something like that. The turret is mostly covering the engine, which should make this thing fairly decent at taking artillery hits, because most of it is going to hit the turret, which is usually a good thing. Like, the Americans get shot in the engine decks a lot. And as you can see, the collision model, it's the sides are non-existent and are all like kind of like spaced armor or something. I don't know if that's actually going to be modeled in or not, but hey, there you go. So yeah, it kind of 8 degrees of gun depression still, 35, 13 power to weight, 35 top speed, 28 aiming time, 38 dispersion again. And then we do have a tier 10 gun with 560 alpha damage, which of course, coupled with 8 degrees of gun depression, you're going to be looking at a tank like this. And then, as long as you can actually effectively use the terrain, this thing's going to be really good on some maps, right? The hull is actually surprisingly pretty bad, but I think that's fine. Just requires a little bit more skill to play. It's going to be basically playing like a T32, T29 to tier 9 with a giant alpha gun, like 560. So I don't know if this is kind of my tank or not, but like, it's just pretty good. It's a tier 9. You're going to be stomping tier 8s and 7s with this. Which you're going to meet a lot of tier 9. Against other tier 9s, it still has the high alpha, right? 560 is just really gnarly, and it still retains decent-ish DPM, right? If we put the brothers in arms in. Coded optics, we put the rammer in there. And the third steps, you're looking at about 2500 DPM, and that's still without food. So, that's decent. And I mean, we now have enough fuel range where we don't need food to get maximum fuel range, which is nice. Finally, at tier 9, I wish tier 8 had that as well. But yeah, overall, it looks like a solid heavy that requires a little bit of a brain to use, unlike some of the other tanks. You need to hide that lower plate, and preferably you need to hide your entire hull, because it's not, it's decent but not great, But this thing, like, oh my god, this thing against tier 7s. Hello, good morning. Like, Jesus. But yeah, I like the look of the tech tree so far. Hull down beasts, high alpha, kind of derpy guns. And let's see, actually, I'm curious. Oh, this thing gets APCR. Holy shit, 250 base pen, 303 APCR pen. Oh, that's juicy. 5,200 per shell, but you do 560. Ooh. Like, I don't like heat shells as my secondary ammos. APCR has so many more benefits, in my opinion. So that's sick. That's really good. Is 303 too much? Probably. But that's nice. Damn. That's really, really nice. And let's see if the AP velocity is really low. 900, so that's pretty typical. Not super slow, but let's say just average. So tier 9 is looking, as per usual, the tier 9s are looking pretty good. Also a thing to keep in mind, by the way, that in these Polish tanks, that the commander is also the radio guy. So for your commander to be effective, you're gonna need 1, 2, 3, and then 6 cents. So you need 4 crew skills at 100% before your commander in these Polish tanks is gonna be serviceable, basically. So, and this across everything. So as you're grinding this tech tree, you better get that commander up to speed, because you're gonna need him quite a bit with this layout because it only has 4 people. So the commander, like, preferably you also want repairs, right? So you want brothers in arms, you want recon, you want situational awareness, you want 6 sense, and you want repairs. You basically need 5 crew skills to make this commander work. And the gunner, driver, loader only need like 2 to 3 crew skills to be good. So that's a little bit awkward, and it happens in more tanks than this one, of course, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And then the tier 10, same crew layout, of course, 2600 health, 160 hull, 260 turrets, 35 top speed, 13 power to weight, so it's pretty sluggish. And it gets the massive 750 alpha damage, 250 base pen, which is a bit odd, same base pen as the tier 9, and then it has 317 heat. So kind of like an E100 in that regard. Probably has a little bit better gun stats than E100, I'd imagine. And yeah, 8 degrees of gun depression still with 750 alpha. That's going to be pretty gnarly. 260 turret armor as well. Let's see if this works. Yeah, that armor is going to be insane. And then the cupola is really, really weak, but also really, really small. Pretty small anyway. I think you can hit it like if you're on even ground. Oh, and it's even a little bit like, I wouldn't say obscured, but like that's a tough that's a tough one to hit, but it's definitely a weak spot. Kind of reminiscent of the French heavies, right? But yeah, armor wise, all the weak spots are effectively gone. Oh, this is still pretty weak though. The driver's hatch here right up front is only like 235, and then lower plate is 203. So definitely just hold down all day, every day, and then just try to nuke them with 750 alpha. It does get the heat, which is like very, very E100, right? You're gonna meet other tanks and just... But at least, unlike the E100, this thing doesn't have a rounded turret, so you're not gonna get shot back so easily. But the thing is, they're gonna shoot through your hull. Right, that's the problem. The hull is really good. You have to aim pretty well to get it in the lower plate. So this is looking like a pretty decent tank. And again, the turret is most of the tank. So I'm hoping... I've had this with the tier 8 premium as well. Is that artillery seemed to do a little bit less damage to me than, you know, driving like the American heavies, for example. But yeah, really cool model as well. I love how it looks. Look at this bazooka of a gun. It's actually insane. And with 8 degrees, it's going to be pretty damn gnarly if this is looking back at you and you're hiding your lower plate. Because even then, you only have to hide your lower plate here, because as you can see, even the driver's hatch is just basically indestructible for a lot of guns. So these things are going to be gnarly. They're going to take a while to get there with 35 top speed and low power to weight. But once they're there, they're a really solid heavy tank, as long as they can hide the lower plate. And 8 degrees of gun depression is going to make these Polish heavy tanks really fairly straightforward to play, right? There's not a lot of things you have to you have to, you know, you only have to hide your lower plate and then be patient enough to get to the flank you want to get to. And then it's going to be pretty gnarly. Kind of like a mix of like Conquerors mixing with E100s. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. But overall, it looks like a solid line. The Italian line was a really good line as well, so hopefully this will be another good one. Because that would be good, 2 good tech trees in a row, which is a nice record for wargaming, you know. But yeah, it looks solid. Again, the XPs you need is about 21k or 22k for the tier 5 if you want to start grinding. If you want to start at tier 6, it's 51k, and then tier 7 is 115, and then this all gets very, very expensive. If you want to go free XP the whole way through, it's 631,000. So yeah. Anyway, this is my overview, my little preview of the new Polish tanks. I'll be playing these on Monday on the test server to get, you know, to get a little bit of a better feel for them. But I figure you guys probably want to see what is up on the test servers right now. I might make some separate videos for the new maps, maybe, and I probably will make a video on the new personal missions as well. But to keep this video a little bit shorter than like an hour, we're like 26 minutes in, I'm gonna call it here, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little preview. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, maybe check out some other videos. If you haven't seen the 100,000 subscriber video yet, go check it out. It's the channel trailer on YouTube. It's really easy to find. Go check that one out if you haven't already. And maybe even if you did already, check it out again. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out, guys.